Good evening, good evening. Hey there, hi there, welcome back. I am Ian. This is my lovely wife.
Rachel?
And we are Ian and Rachel of Big Family Life in the Simpson Family Home. And 4S, the 4S Simpson system with the Simpson family. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. The 4S system simply stands for faith, family, food, and fitness. Faith because we believe that we can do all things through Him who loves us. Family because aside from God, there is nothing more important on this earth. Food because food is medicine. And fitness because we believe that overall wellness can be achieved by maintaining a strong mind, soul, and body. So this is a segment we like to call Real Talk, where we dive into some of the real world issues that we've had to overcome on our individual journeys, and then coming together as a blended family, and some of the issues that we've overcome, and how we use the 4F system to kind of overcome, not only to overcome, but by grace to thrive and to manifest our best lives. Tonight, a very close family friend contacted us a couple days ago and asked us to tackle a particular issue that we've all had to deal with. As a child, I dealt with this, and now as a parent, I'm dealing with it. And yeah, so we're going to get right into it, bullying. And I'm going to turn the floor over to my wife. She's going to lead this discussion tonight. So, yeah, babe.
So we want to look at bullying. And so we discussed on, you know, we sat down and looked at what we wanted to talk about. And I guess it was first children.
Mm-hmm.
And I think later on, either tonight or tomorrow, we'll look at, adult bullies.
Okay.
And so because adult bullies or children actually end up to grow to be adult bullies.
Absolutely.
And bullies actually raise bully children.
Yes.
So you're tackling both, but one feeds off one another. So I guess just looking at there
Hey
she is.
Joey, hey, thanks for stopping in. God bless you. And very quickly before you go on, Mom, I'm going to mention very quickly that the question was asked yesterday: are we live? 100% live, 100% interactive. Question, comments, concerns, please. We're here for you. Go ahead, Mom.
Yeah, so one of the I guess looking at children, what can you do about children that are bullies? Especially the ones that go to school, ones that are having to go to school and experience being bullied. And as parents, it's like, what do we do? Especially when you don't have either the other parents addressing the issue, or you don't have the school addressing the issue, and as a society. And it seems like the last couple of years, all I've seen is lip service that, zero tolerance for bullies, especially from the school. Because when you go to the school and try and address an issue, in my experience, if you don't go there physically and address it, usually nothing is done. It's better to make more noise than, just make a phone call. You actually have to be physically there, confronting even the school staff and saying, hey, do something about this. One of the I guess the tip is always to read up on the school policies.
Okay.
That's actually been one of the things that I love to do, is to look at policies and anything to do with either family law, school policies in regards to bullying, especially on the issue that you want to tackle. There's other areas that I've looked into. So yeah, family maintenance.
Yep. Yeah.
Family maintenance. I
Yeah,
tore that one apart.
I was being bullied by family maintenance. Yeah, if you want to believe that, we'll get into that. Sure, yeah, 100%. I was being bullied by family maintenance on some nonsense, and she went right into their what was that, sweetheart?
Their
Literature,
act.
their
Yeah.
act, the family
Regulations
maintenance
and act.
rules and regulations that govern them, and we went in on them, and yeah. Anyways, go on, sweetheart.
So yeah, so it's just like already today. I went and I looked at what's available in Manitoba on bullying. And so all they really have is, through Red Cross, or the schools have zero tolerance in what they can do. Um, However, sometimes they don't follow through, especially based on, in my experience, is the color of my skin. They don't take it serious. They kind of just sweep it under the rug. However, you have to be very loud. Unfortunately, that's the way that you can grab their attention.
And I mean, I would caution, I mean, moms, absolutely get out there and go Karen. No, I mean, honestly, no, these are our children we're talking about. Go advocate for your children. The double standard in this, and the double-edged sword, is that as fathers, we can't do that. We can, hey, Angie, God bless you. Thanks for stopping in. We can't do that. Moms, 100% be loud, advocate on behalf of your children, excuse me. Fathers, we have to take a more calm approach. We have to take a more reasonable approaches and I took that deep breath because I mean I'm going to tell a quick story, because I mean Nathan, the 25-year-old that no longer has a relationship, no longer wants to have a relationship with Dad, when he was in middle school from grade 7 to grade 9, he was bullied incessantly every day. He still wears the scars from that to this day. I still hold that failure near and dear to my heart, because I was not able to protect my child. Let me take a quick second. God bless you, Mike. Thanks for stopping in and commenting. Let me take a quick second and read this comment. I check kids that check my kids, and when the principal calls me about it, I say, do your job, and I won't have to do your job for you. And I want to know what would be the calmer approach. Mike, God bless you. Thank you. Yeah, we're 100% interactive. The issue, the problem with that approach is, and I'll only ever speak to my life experience, because that's the approach that I always used. And being a black man of above average size, it never ended well. Not for me. That's my lived life experience. And as for us, to continue, Nathan got, and I went to the principal's office. And I sat down in the principal's office because it was a beautiful summer day. My son and I were walking back to school, and we were having fun. Let me tell you, we had a good time. Jocelyn, you know. So we walking back to the school, and then it's just a 5-minute walk across the lake. Beautiful day. We get to the school. We get to the door. His complete demeanor changes. Boom. Shoulders drop, head straight down. Rub it up against him. Nathan, what's wrong? Nathan, what's wrong? What's going? No words, nothing. Eyes at the floor. Open the door, let him in straight to his classroom, gone. I'm like, what the freak is, what just happened? My child just did a complete 180, went from, sunshine and roses to, again, head down, shoulders struck. I mean, leaning up against the wall, rubbing off the paint off the wall. And I mean, he used to come home, bought him a beautiful jacket one day. He's so happy with the jacket, loved the jacket, come home one day crying. They took the jacket, threw it up in the tree. They tormented him, physically, emotionally, mentally. The absolute, I don't know, he's mulatto. I don't know if it was racially motivated. I don't know. They just tormented him. And I mean, I knew about it, right? I knew about it because, he talked. And then, I'd never seen the physical change that come over his body. So I went into the principal's office and I sat down. The principal wasn't available. I sat down with the vice principal and I begged her. I said, please do something to protect my child. I mean, I cried living high water. I sat there and I cried and I said, please do something to protect my child. Nothing. So Mike, you say when you say that you check these kids that check, I tell that story to say this. So one day Nathan says to me many years later, a few years ago, Nathan says to me, and I don't condone this. This was absolute frustration. He says to me, Dad, you remember that time that you tried to run them kids down in the truck? So Mike, I feel your pain. I have no recollection of having done that, but my frustration must have been to such that, and I don't condone that. I've had my issues in the past with, my trauma and my addiction and so on and so forth. I have no recollection of doing that. However, Nathan, that's what he said to me. So what do you do when you're at, and I mean, you have to, and this is my wife, you have to create that paper trail. You have to. You start at the school. Again, you get their literature. You take it to them to show them because they'll protect the victim and re-victimize your. They'll protect the aggressor and re-victimize your child. So you create the paper trail, and don't feel that you're being a nuisance by calling the police to make a report domestically. This is our children we're talking about here, and if the school system won't protect them, then once we're at the school level now, and nothing is being done, well, then we have to escalate and we go to the next level, which would be the school board or the superintendent's office,
Yeah.
and then and then we continue to escalate, and that's the MLA and the MPs and the politicians.
There's also, also getting your child counseling to deal with that matter right away. That could also look at, reaching out, because I know schools have social workers now. It's the more people you have involved, the more voices advocating for your child, the more supports you have for yourself and your children, because it's not just the child, it's everybody in the family. It's not the child just going through, everybody is feeling the pain of the child.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody needs supports. So it's reaching out to everybody to, form a circle around everybody just to get through this.
I mean, there are no easy answers, in life. There aren't. And this particular issue is one that's absolutely near and dear to everyone that has children. And a great many people that don't. We've either been the victim of bullying, or we've been a bully. So what do you do when I have daughters now, Mike, and in the first part of my life as a parent, I had sons. Dealing with bullies when you have sons is a little bit different than dealing with bullies when you have daughters. My daughters will not be victims. I will not raise my daughters to be victims. I make no apologies for that, because I would rather raise them that way now to hold themselves to a higher. Yes, sir, Mike. A circle around a child sounds like. You can never go wrong when you're offering more support to your child, and you can never go wrong when you're offering more support for yourself. We cannot stress enough where trauma and mental health. Stand on that. And I'll say this very quickly on a brief side note. If you're in a place where you're ready to take a look at your personal trauma, grow your trauma, learn from your trauma, heal from your trauma, I would humbly suggest that before you take that step and look into the abyss, because the abyss will look back, before you try to get to know your trauma on a personal level, get to know your God, because you're going to need the strength. My lived life experience. When we're talking about trauma, we're talking about stuff that's held you debilitated. Who knows how long? It could have been last week. It could have been 25 years. It could have been 50 years. And you want to take a look at that without some help? And what would you advise, Joey asking, what would you advise be if the school says we don't have bullying in our school, we just have God here? I think the first time in my life we don't have bullying in our school, we just have God here. Well, that's an interesting statement. Is the presumption, is the assumption or presumption there because we're good and godly people that bullies won't?
It's that.
Babe.
First of all, I think if they don't have bullying there, so what are they saying that the child is going through? That's where that whole paper trail comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Documentation.
Yes.
having your child, their voice heard, because a lot of kids don't have their voice heard. So it is going into the school and saying, this is what my child has experienced. Yes, it is bullying. Looking at the school's policy for bullying, because I know now, I think, is it across Manitoba, they have what is it, National No Bully Day,
Absolutely.
that you wear a certain color shirt that's gonna stop bullying.
I mean,
I'm just
it's a hot, but it's one of those hot button issues right now, right? It's go on.
and so it's, they have to have
Yeah,
something
Joey.
in writing saying,
Yeah,
like, about bullying. There's policies. Like, if I knew the school division, I'll go and look it up myself. That is something. So it's talking to the teacher, then the principal, then the resource teacher. If there's no response from them, then you go to the school board, then you go to the social work through the school. The school divisions all have one. Then you got to reach out to your trustees, then your MLAs,
that's right, and the MPs
and
and the
MPs, politicians. The more people you write emails to, letters, the more they have to look at what's going on. Because one of the things that they always say is that we have to keep our children safe. And a lot of our children can't go to school and not feel safe. One, if they don't feel safe, they're not going to be able to learn. They're going to be on high alert. So how is that looking after their mental health and also the scholastic piece to going to school? Socialization, they're going to be withdrawn. And then you're going to have them coming home and then having, breakdowns or
acting out,
acting out.
self-harm,
So we have,
self-medicating.
yeah.
Angie says that I had a principal say, "Oh, that's not our watch. It's the lunch program." Yeah, I would call BS on that principal there, Angie, because as far as I'm concerned, once my child is in your care and control between the hours of 9 and 3:30, they're in your care and control. You are responsible for their safety and their well-being, and I'm pretty sure it's laid out in every school's lunch program or not. Those are employees of the school, so they're responsible for them. Go on, sweetheart, please.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They always say zero tolerance, but however, it seems to either they just don't want to address it, because what I've noticed, there's been a shift in the parenting. As parents, either we're teaching our children to be accountable for their actions, or if a child does something, they'll say, "Oh no, my child didn't do it." So there's no accountability from the parents on the parenting aspect of it. For us, our children, one of the things, if I heard something from the school, I got a call. I would actually, instead of, "Oh, my child didn't do that," no, I would go sit and say, "What did you do?" Because there's always two sides to a story, and then in the middle there's the truth. So I have to hold them accountable for their action. I can't control what happens outside the home. However, I just noticed the shift in the parenting. Because a lot of the parents are not either too busy living their own lives, or they're just not accepting that their child can do no wrong.
And I think that second point there is probably more prevalent, that, the idea that, little Susie or little Billy is just such a sweetheart, and there's absolutely no way that my child would behave in this manner, because I raise my child better than that. And I'd like to speak to that parent for absolutely, yes. Your heart, you raise your child better than that. Regrettably, it happens. How many parents out there are actually able to be home and don't have to go to work, and are actually there to be home to receive your kids after school, or there to be home to receive your kids at lunch? We have an entire generation of children growing up as latchkey kids, and no disrespect to anybody, through no fault. This is the society that we live in. It's no longer enough to be able to have one income. Sometimes two incomes in the home is not enough. So that creates these kind of problems to begin with, because the lack of supervision, sometimes a child is just crying out for help. And I understand the position of the schools when the school says that, you know what, we have to look at the situation of the other child as well. Is that a cry for help? What is his situation or her situation like at home? I mean, are they being abused? Are they, what are they modeling that? I understand that. I get that. Okay, let's look at those guys and help those guys. However, not at the expense of my child. And I'm just being real there. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, maybe that's what that looks like then. I mean, instead of not doing anything, I mean, pull the kid in at the very least, pull the kid in, have the kid talk with the social worker, maybe put the kid into, talk to the kid at the very least. But I mean, in some instances, the schools aren't even doing that. It just gets brushed under. And I mean, don't allow your child, I mean, we cannot stress that enough. Don't allow that to happen here. Don't allow them to brush you off. Don't allow them to, they have to deal with you. Do you teach them to physically fight back? Because it goes against my better judgment.
And that's one of the things, I don't believe in hitting, when the kids, before, in the previous life, the mentality that they were raised in prior to, where I had no say in the environment. I was, silenced at that time of my life. That was the mentality then. The kids would, that was their frustration. They would hit, and either hit first or they would hit
in retaliation. I mean, baby come to me one afternoon saying that her cousin was hitting on her. And I thought it was just I said, well, don't you tell grandpa so-and-so. Well, grandpa just says to hit him back. And I says, well, no, don't do that. So
80s. Well, and that's that mentality that we had back then, because if you mouthed off, you're gonna pay for it and you learn from it. However, nowadays kids are soft. Yeah, honestly. You had to learn the hard way back then.
so here's the thing about that question. I'm glad you asked that question, because I was going to broach the topic. Excuse me. I was going to bring it up because, I mean, that was where that story was going. Because, as I said, I have daughters now. And we are not raising our daughters to be victims. And so, we have had a conversation that goes a little bit something like this. If you are in danger, if you're threatened with harm, right? Do not fight. I don't encourage any of my boys or girls, don't fight. My male children or my female children, don't fight. If you fear for your life, state clearly, I fear for my life, engage and run. Don't fight. It's not a fight. If I fear for my life, it's not a fight. Right? I'm fighting for my life at this point. So you do what you need to do, engage, and run. As I said, it's not a fight. We're not sitting there dancing. We're not boxing. We're not, none of that. I fear for my life. I'm ensuring I'm giving myself a chance to get away, because I'm not here trying to, and nothing. I'm trying to get myself to safety. That's it. My daughters also know, and this is a true story. If you're in trouble, yell fire, because people will more likely to respond to fire and call 911 than they'll respond to if you yell help. So it's unfortunate, however, and we do not condone violence. However, you have no obligation to put yourself in harm's way. You have every legal right to defend yourself. Do not antagonize or exasperate a situation. Go in, none of that. If you are in harm's way, clearly state, I fear for my life, engage, and run.
And that's the other, because of the, there's always an increased chance that even if they are to defend themselves, we actually have to look at a different perspective, because it's unfortunate because of the color of our skin. If another person is even just threatened or they get their ass beat, our children will end up in jail. So it's like we have to teach them that part of it as well. Am I stating the point?
I mean, the point is just quite simply, do not be aggressors. That is not good, godly, and kind. However, if you are in imminent danger, you have every right to defend yourself. Yeah. And bullying takes place at all levels, in all venues. I mean, if you want to talk sports, I mean, what happens when the teacher is the bully? What happens when the teacher is the bully, or the principal of the school? Oddly enough, Big Noah, he just told us last night when we were talking or going over this, and he mentioned that, he was bullied a little bit, in during school. Like, I mean, I think the question was, I mean, when did you first realize that you were different? And he was like, I learned that early on. It was like grade, says it's funny, I remember this too. It's like between grade 4 and 6, he said. Teacher asked them to break up based on the color of their skin for whatever reason. And Noah wanted to go with his best friend, and his best friend was like, nah. It's like, what do you mean we're not the same color? And he's put his hand up against him, and Noah's mulatto, so he's light skinned, but he's not. No, he's not. And so he knew and I mean, that can be a form of bullying. That's a form of bullying. Like, I mean, it does, I mean.
It created difference. It created,
animosity. It created feelings of, being less than, and that's a terrible place to be. It's such a tough issue. It really is. It really is such a tough issue. Like, what do you do? And how do you tell your child? I mean, there's the old school way of dealing with things where you say that a bully only understands one thing, and you punch him in the face and they won't bully you no more. It's a different world we live in.
Yeah.
It's a very different world that we live in. We're dealing with a different type of bully. There's cyber bullies. There's, pictures and.
Yeah, there's. It's a different age.
Social media, the social media platform has really changed the game. And while it's the greatest era of information exchange and so on and so forth, it really creates a very unique opportunity for bullies, for predators, and things of the like. And it becomes very important now, more so than ever, I think, to just really get closer to our children. Because, I mean,
it's having that open line of communication.
Yes.
Like, you really have to be their safe place, that they can come to you and say, hey, this is what's going on.
This is what's going on. Because the child is not always forthcoming with this information. Go ahead.
And one of the things that when they come to you, you actually have to keep your emotions in check.
Right.
So you can't be
okay, here we go.
Yeah, quick to anger, because then now
put up
you
your
got
hair and be like, all right, let's go.
big emotions, and they don't know how to deal with those big emotions. So if you're able to regulate yourself and allow them to, state what they're feeling, what their emotions they're feeling, and come up with problem solving, having them involved with it. Don't take care of it for them, but have them involved with it. Because you're teaching them the problem solving skills to take care of any situation, and that's part of their growth.
Yeah, that's about that time. The Simpson family home, as we all know, it's like 8:30, so it's the littles will be marching. The littles will be marching through one by one to say their good nights and get their good night kisses and so on and so forth. So we you know, with the challenges of the era that we live in, I mean being that safe place for your children to just come to you and say, hey, this is really what's going on, and not having an emotional reaction and not overreacting and not, you know, and it's such a tough thing as a parent to not overreact to that situation, right?
Yeah.
It's such a tough thing, and however, we gotta, you know, maintain our calm, and I mean allow. I would encourage us to allow the system to do its job. Because I mean, I can say that, I mean, and it's unfortunate. However, depending on where you are, the area that you live in, you're going to get a better response than in some areas than in others. For instance, when we were over in Saint Vital, the response we received over there was swift and immediate. I mean, it was. I mean, we almost didn't even have to go to the school, right? You know, there was a time when I would come home after work and I would have to listen to the Grace report. And as
That's what it
Bucky's
was.
right there, yeah, the Grace, and it turns out that Bucky just really wanted to be friends really hard with Grace, and Grace was really reluctant at first, and then so that was an easy fix. You know, well, just invite her over for a play date, and that was it. But then there was another. What was the other gal's name, baby?
Sheila.
Sheila. So Sheila,
still a soft
this,
spot
this is
for
a
her.
soft spot for baby yet. And Sheila was this beautiful little mulatto child, and I didn't, you know, big beautiful smile. She looked like an angel, but who knew that she could be such a bully? And she was terrorizing baby in the classroom, and and
This is the funny thing. You can't really say anything to Callie because she repeats everything, even in joking.
everything.
So yeah, go ahead, tell us.
So I says to baby, you tell Miss Sheila if she don't smarten up, I'm gonna fight her dad. And I was completely kidding. I thought it was funny until I found out baby went to school and told Sheila that I wanted to fight her dad. And it just so happened that Sheila's dad was black. So that could have been catastrophic. It could have been horrible. And I mean, not to make light, this is not a light topic at all. However, that was just, and I mean, it was it was traumatic for baby for a couple of days, and then we made a couple of phone calls. What had
went to the
happened?
school.
Yeah, what had happened was something was spilt on a sweater intentionally, and you know what I mean. And so we went and dealt with it, and the response, as we said, was I forgot the name of the organization. Do you know anybody who has resorted to using that biker group who shows up to school with the kids to form a solidarity?
No, I don't know.
I haven't even heard of that. We're going to have to look into that. We're going to have to look into that, and we're going to do a follow-up on this tomorrow. So we'll look into that, and we'll have some information for you on that. Do you have a pen, sweetheart? Let me
No,
write
I
that
was
down.
looking
I'll take
for
some
one.
notes on that. Yeah, so that was, we called, and I mean, because there was contact, I mean, they dealt with it immediately. There was no question as to whether or not baby was to be believed, or we need to look. Nothing. It was just dealt. The parents were brought in, and the reaction was swift and immediate. And then you come to this side of the city over here, and I mean, I've been battling with, and I mean, what happens when the principal is the bully, and I'm trying to advocate on behalf of my child, and my children attended Sisler for how many years, and I got nothing done with Principal Heshka. I mean, nothing, and all we could do was continue to try to advocate and create the paper trail, and continue to lean on God. Good night, sweetheart. And I would say this. If it's to the point of violence, I wouldn't hesitate to pull my child out of school. Yeah,
Not until they had done something to make it safe for our child to go back to school.
absolutely. And I would make it very public. And that's what I would do differently this time around, because it was physical with Nathan, and he still carries those scars. and so on and so forth. I mean, it wasn't like physical to the point where he's coming home with black eyes and so on and so forth. However, he was getting jostled and tossed about and so on and so forth. And no, and I would have pulled him out. I would have pulled him out of school, and then they would have had to explain why this child wasn't in school. And then it would quite simply, this time around, I would pull my child out, and I would blow my horn until someone listened and say, no, we're not sending our children back until you can provide a safe environment for them to learn in. Because that's every child's right, is to have a safe, not a privilege, not a privilege. It's every child's right to have a safe environment in which to learn.
And I just remembered. Like I went through this. My oldest, Cadence, who's 18 now, he was in grade 2, and I actually didn't even know what was going on at the school. It was the teacher was actually bullying all the children in his class, and Cadence is he was a social butterfly in school. Liked to talk and play around. However, the teacher actually physically assaulted him, and I didn't find out till months later. I went right down to the school as soon as I found out, and went to the principal, and I said, you better get that teacher out of the school right now before I go down there. And the more noise you make, the more action gets done. However, unfortunately, due to which I think is bullshit, the Crown said that due to his ability to tell time and dates, that they couldn't do anything. However,
Charges-wise.
she was reprimanded, and she was let go of her position at the school.
And rightfully so. And then now I can go back with Noah, and Noah would have been he was in elementary at the time, and he was in maybe grade 4 or 5, always a big kid, and he lunch line, spring jacket, and not a tearaway hood, just a normal stitched hood, and the lunch monitor. I don't know what happened. They were lining up to go inside to back after lunch, and he was going ahead of her daughter, and she grabbed him and yanked him so hard she tore his hood off his jacket, and I was livid. And I went there, and I got nowhere. I got nowhere with that, simply because I was just an angry black man, and and I thought that wasn't right. However, I'm much more better equipped to, and yes, absolutely, these representatives are are MLAs, MPs, and so on and so, but that's their job. That is their job, to look out for the best interests of their constituents. And when you run into, good night, my love you. When you run into roadblocks and you can't get any further with the school board and so on and so, yeah, absolutely, continue to escalate, continue to go up the ladder, and continue to make noise. I mean, I once, when I was it 2-3 years ago, I wasn't happy with the way that my the proceedings in my court case, and the MEP she mentioned briefly, and they were bullying me, and I wrote a letter. An email. You would be surprised the power, or no, you wouldn't. The power of the pen. I wrote an email, and I tagged everybody. I tagged. Who did we tag, baby? We attached
Everybody.
The Governor General, the Justice Minister, I tagged so many people that it got back to the justice who was hearing my case, and she referenced it the next time that she saw me in court. She was not happy. Probably wasn't the best move that I made at that time. To God be the glory, it worked out. I say that to illustrate the power of the pen. Once you start involving politicians and annoying politicians, the last thing they want to have to do is to deal with a constituent. Get at them. And the more letters they have after their name, the more likely they don't want to be annoyed. And I mean, that's, and that I need proof. I mean, what are you saying? You need to, you're going to disbelieve a child? I mean, What is that,
No,
sweetheart?
I
This
was
is
gonna say I'd just go sit in the classroom and just to, you know what I mean, just to illustrate the seriousness of the child's words. Because again, like we would pull them out. However, if you have the ability, go sit in there.
spend a day in the life if you're able. I mean,
You have to really
modern
get
problems require modern solutions. Are you able to spend a day in the life of? Are you able to? Are you able to record over the cell phone interactions that occur in the hallway in between classes after school when these incidences of bullying occur? Are you able to, I mean, does the child have a cell phone where, and I mean, I know this is a dangerous thing, but I mean, this would be proof because if the cell phone is knocked out of their hand, that's proof.
And
Right?
that's the interesting piece that I really disagree with is why do they have to wait for something serious to
I
happen?
know. Yeah.
That is one of the things that do you have to wait till there's a broken arm? Do you have to wait till there's head trauma? Do you have to wait till there's what? What's the yeah, that's one of the things I just do not understand.
Ouch.
Oh,
Wow. Really? You were gonna spend the day and they wouldn't, but is that now because of the new restrictions, because of the new COVID restrictions?
yeah, I forgot all about that.
CV restrictions now. However, is it possible? Is it possible for the child to have a cell phone, and as soon as something they feel something is gonna just start to record? That's, I mean, that's really the kind of culture that we live in right now, right? That, you know what I mean? World star, and I mean, just if is that doable? Can the child have a cell phone, and as soon as something starts to pop off, just start to record? If the cell phone, we run the risk now of the cell phone be smacked out of their hand and damaged, well, that's proof. Now you can't say there's no more proof of the bullying. Well, they slapped their cell phone out. You know what I mean? That's proof. What else? If you can't
That's
physically
the other
be,
thing too, is that depending on what kind of group of friends they have,
Right.
they cover for one another, and that's the sad part about it, because bullies are usually allowed to bully because they have the same group of friends.
thin peer group
Yeah,
that support them, that prop them up, that
or either out of fear they just join them. So yeah, this is a big.
I mean, is the child now able? And I mean, nuts. However, spend less time alone if at all possible.
But that's the thing. That's what I just really disagree with.
Yeah.
Everything is waiting for that proof, waiting
Yeah.
for that. Why does that one child have to be isolated? That is just, that's, that's their childhood. Why can't they just be children? And if you know the parents, have you tried talking with the parents of the other children? And I get that, yeah, they're gonna either condone the behavior or enable.
However, there is the rare parent out there that that doesn't know, and would be mortified to find out. Maybe this is an opportunity where you can call on their faith a little bit. I mean, is this, what would Jesus do in this situation? Is this a good godly behavior that your child is displaying towards mine? I mean, yeah, hold them accountable. Hold them accountable by faith. If you know the name of the parents, well, and it's a small, go see the pastor at the church, take it to the church, because in the Christian community, when there's a problem, one or two or more would take the issue to the pastor, And then the pastor now, it becomes incumbent upon the pastor now to speak to the members of the congregation that are involved to ensure that everything is still harmonious within the church community. So that could be a possible course of action as well. Speak to the pastor.
And that's the thing. She says like they're 9 years old, and that's the sad piece about it, is that because it seems to be getting younger and younger. Because puberty has been pushed so much sooner on them. It's
Yeah, I mean, yes, especially your community. Especially your community. Involve the pastor. Absolutely. It's not dirty pool. It's holding men and women of faith accountable to their morals. Yeah, 100%. And then, let's talk a little bit about sporting organizations. What happened when the bully's a coach or a teammate, or the whole team, right? I mean, Ryder was in a situation where he wanted to play football, so we took him out to play football, and these guys were all the entire defense was, they had mutinied and were calling plays on the field, and he was just so right because he's a very structured guy. Everything has, and he was just bullied into, so we had to pull him. It wasn't fun. We had to pull him. And I mean, he didn't get hurt in the sense that it wasn't physical in that regard, but I mean, it was bullying, and it was just weighing on him emotionally, psychologically, and it stopped being fun. So we had to pull him.
It was nice though, because he came to him and said, "Hey, this is what's going on." He was able to tell Dad that this is what's going on, and Ian supported him, and he's like, "Okay, we'll go," because that is more important to us as our children's mental health than trying to fit in with a group of parents or do things that we know are not good for our children.
And I was the coach. They talked me into coaching. I was the coach, and I mean, I'm like, and then it would stop being fun, and nah, we're done.
You good?
GQ Jordy with the good hair. I mean, it's it's 8:45, so that means that's second supper. Second supper before bed, and before his snack. Right? So, I mean, again, modern problems require modern solutions. So let's be creative. Let's be creative and let's be intentional.
Paper trail.
Cannot stretch that enough. Paper trail, generated paper trail. Find their literature that every school, every organization, will have literature on policies, on harassment, bullying. You have to nowadays. You have to.
And that's the thing. You have to say, you have it written here. So why are you not following it?
Exactly. Hold them accountable. I mean, familiarize yourself with the literature. And then find out where they're not protecting your child, and quote them on that. And say, in this sex subsection, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, familiar. I mean, when we were being bullied by MEP, that's exactly what I did. I mean, we learned those documents inside out, and then we wrote letters and laid out where they were wrong, and we got our justice. Right? So advocate on behalf of your child, and don't be afraid to. And this is that situation where the squeaky wheel 100% gets the grease. The squeaky wheel 100% gets the grease. And do not feel, they'll try to convince you that they're the final authority. They're not. Everybody's got a boss. Find out who their boss is. And if you get stumped there, then hit up the politicians. And
that's the other, so when you're phoning the school, you have to actually write down, I phoned the school at this time, I spoke to this person, they told me, if they paper trail, not just getting the physical papers, you actually have to have times and dates of everything.
Yeah. Anything else you want to touch on, sweetheart?
No. I think that maybe tomorrow we'll touch on adult bullies.
Okay. As
That
it
could be
pertains to what, I mean, relationships, what?
everything.
Okay.
Is yeah, relationships, and even in the I guess a lot of people are aware what to do when it comes to themselves as adults, but it's our children that is, that gray area that we really have to have more oversight, especially in this modern times, and with the new technology, and with people just not caring.
Boom. I mean, huge, huge. Let's before we wrap, let's close on that. Let's talk about that for a little bit. Let's unpack that for a couple of seconds. Parents, please be aware of where your children are on social media. Okay.
Sorry, I just want, yeah, Joey, just if they don't respond, go over their head.
Absolutely.
It's just, yeah, being a hound with the phones, just continuously.
Continue to escalate.
If you leave a voicemail, you say in your notes, I phoned such and such, left voicemail. Then you can phone the next day again, same thing.
I
But
mean,
then go the next step up.
ministers don't like getting emails. Minister of Education, Board of Education, those guys don't like getting emails at all, right? And I mean, once you start emailing them and annoying them, they generally will, go poop flows downhill, right? And then lands on the head of the principal that's giving you a hard time and creating roadblocks. And you'd be surprised once you push the right buttons. Once you push the right buttons, you'd be surprised at how quickly, they act, right? But the trick is to continue to escalate, and by escalate, I don't mean we can't vocally escalate, and with good reason. With good reason, we can't do that anymore, and that's fine. However, no, protect our kids. Protect our kids. It's completely unacceptable that a child does not want to go to school for fear of bullying. It's completely unacceptable to me, and I've been on both ends of that. I've been bullied, and I've bullied, right? So at the end of the day, I'm back here saying that no, bullying is completely unacceptable. It's just no, and I don't much care. Once you're an incessant bully, I don't much care what the bully is going through at that point. You know what I mean? When if you're bullying my child, and I'm sorry, in that moment, I'm not gonna have compassion for you. Right? There's other ways for you to say I'm hurting. Right? Try just that. I'm hurting. Can somebody please help me? It works. That works. It does. I promise you. That is my lived life experience. You actually don't have to yell to be heard. When you're hurting, you can just say, I hurt. And you don't need much of it. And I mean, we live in a world now where people are taking note with good reason of mental health issues and so on and so forth. And it doesn't matter. You can say that to anybody. And if you don't know where to go, contact us. We'll help you. We'll point you in the right direction. We'll get some phone numbers for you. We'll do some research. Yeah, contact us. We'll do that. 100%. Help is always given to those that ask. You can't be too proud anymore. It's not that kind of world that we live in anymore. It's no longer that kind of party. It's too important. And I'm talking to the child that's the bully. That's not the child that's being bullied, but the individual that is the bully. Right? You're hurting inside. That's fine. You're entitled to feel good too. You're entitled to be loved too. And you are loved. God loves us all, sinner and saint alike. And I know that your situation right now might be difficult. Right? If you need help, reach out. Somebody will pick up the phone and answer you. I promise you that. And if you need to reach out to us, reach out to us. We'll get you the help you need. We'll point you in the right direction. We'll make the phone call. We'll do the legwork. But you don't have to hurt others because you're hurting inside. I understand that. I mean, I was there. I lived that. And the thing is, here's the thing. You only end up, in the long run, you only end up doing more harm to yourself. Because unless you're a sociopath, nobody really likes hurting other people. We hurt other people for a great many different reasons, right? But when we're talking about trauma, generally we hurt other people because we're hurting inside and we don't want to feel that. We don't want to hurt. Mm-hmm. You don't have to. You're not alone. I can't state that enough. You're not alone. Reach out. Somebody will answer the phone. I promise. All right. Thank you. Yeah.
And you're welcome.
You're welcome, Joey. Thanks for stopping in. Thanks. And, thanks all the viewers that stopped in and sounded off and helped us make this as interactive because this is an act of service for us. So if anything that we've had to say has been helpful or offered any encouragement in any small way, then to God be the glory. We'll be back again tomorrow and with another episode of Real Talk in the Simpson Family Home. Thank you so much for stopping in. Thank you for